human life, for so long one of nature's deepest mysteries. The fusion of egg and sperm giving rise to new life. Life determined by nature and her rules. But not for much longer.
I think there is no doubt that genetic engineering of human beings is going to happen, because the technology is too good. And people are instinctively driven to help their children and give their children advantages. Naturally, normal parents would say, well, why can't I give my child some genetic advantages?
With the recent sequencing of the human genome, the genetic blueprint for human beings, it is now possible to isolate genes responsible for various human characteristics. The temptation is to begin the process of engineering our own future evolution.
All genes in every single living organism on the earth are made with DNA. If you can give a mouse a jellyfish gene which makes the mouse glow in the dark, you can do the same thing with a human baby, although I'm not saying this should ever be done. It's mind-boggling to say that any biological property that exists anywhere in the living world, in any organism, could be brought into human beings. This is really quite amazing. Scientists are partly to blame for the lack of knowledge, because scientists always want to keep things quiet. They're afraid that if people understood where this technology could go, they would completely freak out. No rational academic scientist will admit to wanting to find genes that are going to be useful for enhancement. However, it's going to happen as a byproduct of the Human Genome Project. And then the question becomes, we'll have the knowledge, will people use it?
There are so many potential benefits, such as protecting people from genetically inherited illnesses. But it doesn't stop there.
If you go step by step through this process, you're basically replicating evolution, but you're doing it a million times faster. We know so much more about genes, for example, that determine physical attributes. The other kinds of things that are coming forth more quickly than we thought are mental characteristics. We already know of some genes that give somebody a predisposition to think in a certain way.
Think in a certain way? Get ready for a brave new world, coming your way soon. Though scientists claim to have moral concerns about genetically enhancing humans, it is surely inevitable that someone, somewhere, will use the technology for this purpose.
The problem is that there is no clear line between overcoming disease and providing enhancement.
Such highly evolved superhumans will be far superior to their humble ancestors. Stronger, healthier, more intelligent. They will be as different to us as we are to earthworms. And if that's so, what's to stop them stepping on us?
Scientists don't want to believe this, but anybody who studies genetics, you realize that in 1,000 years' time, the human species will split, and there will be genetically advanced people who really are quite separate from human beings as we exist now. Certainly as different as Homo sapien is to Homo erectus, which is a different species, and maybe far beyond that.
Remember, you heard it here first. If you make it through the next couple of minutes, why not join us to discover tonight's ultimate chart-topping doomsday disaster? Welcome to the grisly climax of our doom-laden ultimate disaster countdown. Before we reveal the most disastrous global catastrophe, let's remind ourselves of the other apocalypses in tonight's chart. A surefire smash hit at number 10 is the Doomsday Asteroid Strike. Its clink-clunk buzz at 9 when robots inherit the Earth. Blasting in at 8 is the Super Volcano. At 7 are those ray gun-toting aliens. And at number 6, we feel the cold hand of death in the Big Freeze. At 5 is the matter-munching grisly grey goo. And at 4, we did it to ourselves with global war. At 3, it was slow and painful with the monster plague from outer space. And at number 2, it was those scary children. So there you have it, Epoch Pickers. Time now to reveal our number 1 global disaster. The world has spun merrily on its axis for millions of years, but that's no reason to become complacent, because even a minor realignment of the Earth's axis could have catastrophic consequences.
The reason why the Earth and the other planets orbit around the Sun is basically that they condensed out of a spinning disk of gas and dust around about 4.6 billion years ago.
The Earth is held in orbit by a balance of forces: the pull of gravity from the Sun and the push of centrifugal force. With the exception of Mercury, all of the planets in our solar system are tilted on axis, and it's this that determines seasonal change. Uranus, however, is tilted on its side as a result of a colossal asteroid collision sometime in its past.
If you imagine a gyroscope going round and round, and the difficulty that you have in actually forcing that to tip over, you can see that you would need an enormous amount of energy to tip a body like Uranus over.
So what would happen if the Earth suffered such a massive impact? Assuming we weren't mashed to pieces like an overripe fruit, it's possible our entire planet could be shifted to a new axis, or even catapulted into the Sun.
If you give it enough energy, you can actually change the energy of the orbit, just like the orbit of comets can vary from circular to elliptical to hyperbole. If you give it enough energy, it's a hyperbola, which means it can then actually escape.
Such a collision will shatter the entire fabric of our delicate microcosm, causing devastation on a truly unprecedented scale.
Things are getting really hot here as the Earth spins uncontrollably towards the Sun.
It will be the biggest story ever to hit the headlines. Journalists around the globe will go into overtime. Remember, even the slightest shift in the orbit of the Earth, closer to the Sun, will lead to the planet slowly overheating. Scientific speculation soon leads to abject terror as the consequences of such a disaster become apparent.
This handkerchief is sodden with sweat, but let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's nothing as compared with my underpants.
So there would be huge consequences to the climate, to the orbit of the Moon, also to the orientation of the magnetic field. There would be enormous effects on the tides, and of course the seasons, which are related to climate and related to the position around the Sun as well. So there'd be absolutely huge effects.
The ice caps melt within days, creating massive floods. Earthquakes and supervolcanic eruptions tear apart the very fabric of the Earth. All that is left for those who remain is to write the ultimate headline for the final edition of the Daily Planet. Because tomorrow, there will be no planet. Eventually, all life on Earth is turned to a smoldering heap of ashes and cinders. The cosmos, as far as we're concerned, returns to a random mass of accidental matter. After that, there will be nothing. Zero, zilch. The sad end of a beautiful experiment.